Hi, thanks so much for coming to our talk on healthy water, healthy forest. My name is Kate Flick, and I have a background in forest ecology and management, but I've worked mostly in environmental education.
Hi, I'm Steve Schmidt, and my background is in water resources and fisheries. And I taught 13 years of high school science before coming to LEAF, which is Wisconsin's K-12 forestry education program. And in this opening slide, you can see here a flyer that Kate created for our workshop that we held a little over a year ago at Lake Superior National Estuarine Reserve. And here on the right is the estuary that flows out into Lake Superior a little bit off to the right of the screen. But in this area, you can see that there is some turbid waters here. LEAF provides formal and non-formal educators in Wisconsin with quality forestry education materials. And we are a partnership between the Wisconsin DNR Division of Forestry and the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education, which is housed in the College of Natural Resources at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. LEAF offers primarily professional development for educators, which we're sharing one of those workshop ideas with you today. We also share curricular materials, and we check out hands-on forestry education kits to teachers around the state who need those materials for like 1 or 2 units. And we support outdoor classrooms. We have a unique school forest program in Wisconsin. It's the first in the nation, almost 100 years now. And we have about 425 school forests. And we also house Project Learning Tree for the state of Wisconsin. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about any of those programs or offerings, please check us out at our website listed here.
But in this talk, we're really interested in how we can help educators make the connection between forests and water. And so in the workshop we did, we really grounded in why we care, starting with one tree, moving up to a forest, and then scaling up to the watershed level. When we think about that individual tree, we just use Project Learning Tree iTree software. It's pretty simple. You get a tree's DBH and its tree species, plug it in, and it tells you all sorts of benefits from carbon storage, energy use, various other ones, but we really narrow in on the stormwater benefits.
And what we like to do at each of these workshops is provide a local field trip for context. In this case, we went out with a Douglas County forester to a recent timber sale that was being marked to be cut. And he shared with us some best management practices for foresters. And here's a picture of why we need those best management practices. This is just one of the participants' footprints, and you can see here it was kind of wet, and there's some chocolate milk looking stuff here, which is the clayey soil in the area, which was also seen in this stream over here to the right.
And when we do these field trips, we really like to provide some hands-on activities. So we look at leaf area index and canopy cover, thinking about how water is flowing through trees. We also take some soil cores and think about soil porosity and how that might impact water flow. And you can do lots of different hands-on activities like simple forest inventories to help make that connection between forest services and water health. As we move to the watershed scale, this is a picture of Wisconsin's 3 main watersheds. In the north, you see the Lake Superior watershed. On the east side of the state, it's the Lake Michigan watershed, and then a lot of the state also drains to the Mississippi River. So we'd like to move around with our workshops and hit all those different watersheds that Wisconsin has. And when we talk about the watershed level with teachers and educators, we show them the Enviroscape, which is a 3D model where you can look at how water flows, different pollutants and how they might impact and go into water and where those pollutants end up, and different surfaces. We also have this simple runoff model experiment where you can compare impervious surfaces with soil. So we can compare runoff rates with something like roads, which is plaster in this model, versus soil, which is sand in this model. And finally, we use the Enviro Atlas. It has a lot of different layers. One is simply seeing different watersheds. Another, you can see what land cover use is. But one of the cool layers is looking at the effect of tree cover in preventing stormwater runoff. It's a great tool. It's got lots of layers and teachers are like, oh my God, this is awesome. And finally, we like to have teachers assess their learning by making a simple model of that connection between forest and water health. And here you can see that that connection and place connection is pretty transparent.
We end the workshop with some time using an underwater drone, which is called a Trident. And here you can see some educators at the Lake Superior Reserve piloting that. And here are some educators in a northern Wisconsin lake that still has some ice cover, piloting it as well. And it looks like this, at least in the UW Stevens Point swimming pool. And we have some really cool screenshot footage of a dive that was done in Lake Superior, just off the St. Louis River estuary, after a stormfall event. And so this footage was shot with the Trident onboard camera by Robert Sterner. And here it is climbing up off the bottom, and we're in about 10 meters of water at this point. And watch what happens as we go to 8 meters. You can see it got a little bit warmer and the color changed. And then the color changed even more as it approached 5.5 meters as it was climbing up. And this looks like the color you saw in the opening slide and also in that footprint slide a few ago. And here we are above the clay plume at 2 meters. And then we get up to the surface, which actually looks like clouds at about 0.5 meter. And this really just illustrates how if large stormfall events keep happening in that area, how important it is to have best management practices in forestry, because the soil otherwise ends up in the lake, which is not the best place for it. We'd like to thank you for coming to our presentation or viewing this presentation today. And with that, we'll take some questions.